Good. Good evening, everybody. That's you understand. How are you, Yehuda? You understand? You okay?
Yeah, good. Baruch Hashem, how are you?
Yeah, Baruch Hashem. Did you follow all the medication of last night, all the medicine practices? It was a bit fast. No?
As much as anyone else, I suppose.
Right. You know, it's interesting.
Is it clear enough here? Otherwise, you might have to call me.
Yehuda, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Good. It is interesting. There's a halacha of balta shaktsu. One is not allowed to eat something which is off-putting, despicable. So the shach, nobody less than the shach asks the question, how can the Gemara, if you remember yesterday, urine and other kinds of products are all very, very healthy for various ailments. The question is, what about the issa balta shaktsu? And the shach says from here we see that there's no issa balta shaktsu if there's a medical purposes for it. Which is halacha l'maisa, it's brought down. Somebody brought out a sefer on all the halachas of medication, the halachic aspects. It's fascinating sefer. Quite complicated halachas of medicine. For example, if it's treif and things like that, you know. So there's no issa balta shaktsu to medication. I'm carrying on a little bit, not so much as not only as much as yesterday, about all the different things that a person has to do for various medications. So we're up to Kuf Yudam with base. 15 lines before the end of the thin lines, about a third of the way about halfway, closer to the bottom half, by the two dots. Liar koino, chas v'shalom, if a person gets jaundice, what should he do? Train. He should take two of the ingredients which were mentioned in Daf Kuf Yud Amud Aleph, which were gum, alum, and garden saffron. Take two of those ingredients and cook them in beer, umiyaka, cause the person to become sterile. If you can't get these ingredients, take a fish called shibuta, salt it, cook it in beer, and drink it. If you can't get that, you should take munini de kamsi, the juice of locust. If you can't get the juice of locust, you should get the juice of small birds. He should go into the bathhouse, but shafi and should smear it over himself. If there's no bathhouse, he should stand between the oven and the wall. In those days, they used to have an oven inside the house to heat up food and things, so you should stand between the oven and the wall. If you want to warm up this person, you should wrap him and clean him off with your cloth. Rashi's mashma, you take the cloth of somebody else who has the same illness, and you give him that cloth, it makes him better. He wasn't well with jaundice, and he got better through this particular method. Kfizi is a big cup which can hold 3 lug, which is about 12 bechers, nice big cup. Tamar pasaisa filled with dates from Persia. With Kfizi, another 3 big cups, the kira de nashtrufi, that is wax which dripped out of a honeycomb. The telosa kifizi alo tolano, and 3 cups full of alum which is red. Vishlukinu b'shicho, and aloe which is red. Vishlukinu b'shicho, cook it in beer. Velishti, and drink it. V'loi leisi ilo ba'achamo, you should take a baby donkey. V'legalach mitziosa teveisha, a person should shave the middle of his own head. V'leishavik domo me'apuse, you should squeeze blood out of the baby donkey onto his forehead, and make the blood or the donkey's baby land on his head. You should be careful that none of the blood goes in his eyes, so that can blind. The blood of the baby donkey squirted into one's eye can cause blindness. If you can't get that, you should take the head of the ram, the manach bekivsha, which has been salted, pickled, and cook it in beer, and drink it. This is another cure for jaundice. Take a chaza, which is got speckled like a stick. You should tear it, and put it on his heart. If not, you should take a leek, from the middle of the patch of vegetables. There was this Arab, the Choshbe, he said to the gardener, take my coat, v'havli mishri dekalsi, give me the leeks from your garden. It means he swapped the coat for leeks because he knew this would make him better. He ate it. Now I want the coat back because at the end of the day, I'm cold. The illness makes a person cold. The igni bay, he slept in it, koli, ikrach. He slept with it for a short time. Ikrach gano bay, when the gardener wrapped himself in the same clothes, kadechama, when he wanted to warm up, they come and he got up, nafal pulta minei, and the coat fell down into pieces and it broke into small pieces. I'll tell you an interesting story. Now, I was once in a kur which we did only halacha the whole day. And somebody came to the explanation and said, today was Yashiv still alive, Talmud of Yashiv. And he came in and he said that somebody had come to Yashiv that day. He said he needed a new valve in his heart. And the best valve that the doctors recommend is the valve of a dovach, of a pig. And the question is there anything wrong morally or halachically of using the valve of a pig in a person's heart? And he said he thought Rashi would take a minute or two to think about it. Rashi straight away said on the spot, there's nothing wrong. And we spent time trying to work out what was his proof that there's nothing wrong. One of the proofs is from this Gemara. As the Gemara says that for jaundice, one of the cures, read through quite fast, is to take a pig which is speckled like a stick, tear it and put it on one's heart. So obviously the fact that you're curing yourself with something like that is not a problematic thing. It's interesting halacha. Now we're going to more complicated halacha. Now it's like this. We mentioned before for jaundice, one of the cures is what? 2 of those previous mixtures, cook it with beer, and it causes the person to become sterile. Says Maria, couldn't train b'shichom yakim. Are you allowed to do such a thing? You're not allowed to castrate a person. There's a very long text in the second text of the page. The text explains that there's 2 separate droshes over here. It's good to know it. One halacha is, Rashi mentioned it very briefly. In your land. Now we have a principle that any mitzvah which is not dependent on the ground is noyeg, applies in Eretz Yisrael and in the Chutz La'aretz. Therefore, when the Torah says, in your land you mustn't do it, what would be the simple pshat of Ba'al Tzechem Lo Yisasu? What's the simple pshat? Don't do it in your land, don't do it in Eretz Yisrael. But that cannot be pshat. Why can that not be pshat? Because since it has nothing to do with the ground castrating a person, so therefore it can't be noyeg only in Eretz Yisrael. We have a principle that any halacha which is not negad to karka applies to Chutz La'aretz as much as to Eretz Yisrael. So the Torah says, in your land you mustn't do it, can't mean to Eretz Yisrael. So the Gemara dashes 2 separate droshes. One is Eretz, anything in your land, meaning not just animals, humans, and anything in your land is forbidden to do sirus, to be masaras, castration, sterile. And second drosha, ub'al tzechem, meaning that you mustn't even do it to yourself. A person is not allowed to, not only is not allowed to do it to somebody else, but even within himself, a person can't do it to himself should he wish to. So the Gemara asks the kasha, how can you have this medication if it's going to cause this problem? Teresa asks the kasha, forget about the problem of seals. There's another much bigger problem. What's the other problem? Is he won't have children. Mitzvah pruvu. What about mitzvah pruvu? No. I know it's confusing. There's 2 separate issues. There's the issue of sirus. You're not allowed to do sirus to even a cow, a cat, etc. There's other approval, and you have to have children.
Is this a permanent thing?
Yeah, it's a permanent thing. What do you say? Oh, Tais answers if he's already got children. His answer already got. Okay, so we'll come to keep that in mind. If you've already got children. Now, so the war asks the kasha about sirus. The war is like this: when is castration forbidden? Is when you do it. And the way that the Rishonim explain is not like kavana with intention, even without kavana it's asa. But when you do it, when you're directing your efforts to the limbs and the organs that actually cause birth, right? That's the person does an operation on the part of the body which helps to procreate. Here it's indirect. Indirect is permitted. How does more know that? If a person wants to make a chicken, never have the eggs, so you mistas made of. If you take off the red crown, the chicken has a red crown. If you take off the red crown, it won't have kids. So now, why is that permitted? Oh, you're not allowed to do so. The answer is, because it's indirect. You're not affecting the organs that give birth. You're affecting a different organ. Says the Gemara, no, we can't compare. The chicken is very proud of its crown. And when it loses the crown, it gets depressed. When it gets depressed, it's not able to procreate. It gets too unhappy. Therefore, in fact, you're not actually doing any form of sirus at all. When a person takes off the red crown of a chicken, he's not done anything wrong at all, because there's nothing intrinsically affecting the chicken. It's not just it's indirect. The chicken in theory could give birth. Only what happens is it gets into depression, and that is permitted. Now, so we've got a kasha over here in our Gemara, where it actually causes a permanent issue, it should be forbidden. Answers more elaborate. This medication for the jaundice is only permitted to somebody who's already a source. Top of Hakol Moedim. Rashi explains Hakol Moedim is referring to as follows. There is a halacha that you're not allowed to put a mum in the bechor. It's a terrible idea to put a mum in the bechor. The whole half of bechor is about it. Now, what happens if a bechor already has a mum? Can you add another mum? So that's a machlokas. Says Rabbi Yochanan, Hakol Moedim, even those who say that you're allowed to, once an animal which is a bechor has a mum, you're allowed to put another mum, but they all agree that mechametz acha mechametz shu chayav. Now, korban mincha mustn't become chometz. Let's say already part of it became chometz, so now I make another part with chometz. It's also forbidden. Shenema lo yiseifer chometz yisasa chometz. Since the Torah says two separate psukim, one don't bake it as chometz, and another one don't make it into chometz, teaches you that even if you already got one chometz, you can't make it further chometz. Furthermore, we learned the mesas acha mesas. Everybody agrees that if a person causes sirus to somebody who's already got sirus, shu chayav. Shenema, the pasuk says umorch, that's crushed with kostas, and that's Rashi explains where it's crushed with not with the hand but with a keli. When nosuk v'choros, that's cut either by the eggs, v'choros is cut by the eva. Imal koros chav nosuk lekoshkin. If you already chayav for koros, why do you have to tell me nosuk? The reason why the Torah needs to tell us all four different ones to tell us that if a person's already been castrated through a different method, he's now forbidden to do another one. So again, there are three cases of doing something after. By a bechoi, putting a mum into a bechoi after he's already had a mum, that's a machlokas. But by chometz after chometz by korban mincha, and sirus achas sirus in the human being on an animal, everybody agrees it's forbidden. So therefore, this cure, which we said before by sirus, the first answer will give it's indirect, and most says that's not true. That's only by a chicken because it's completely indirect. You're not actually doing anything, you're just making the chicken depressed. Over here, it's actually directing the problem to the human being. Says the Gemara regarding and what's more second answer, that the person was already a source. He was already somebody who can't have children. Says well, that also doesn't work because Masas Acha Masas is Chayav. We're talking about an old person that can't give birth, it's okay. Rabbi Yochanan took certain medication when he was old, where he was impotent. That's the word, I'm not sure. Impotent. Impotent. And what happened was he took a certain medication and that made him able again. So even a zokim, we should be choshesh that can happen. And therefore, the fact that he's old, a woman, since she's not chayav to have children, it doesn't matter by suicide. That both men and women are chayav to have children. We're talking about an old lady or nakor. Now, this is just, I'm saying it, halacha shaloi l'maisa. There's a very interesting shuvah from a Yosef Ber Soloveitchik, a very controversial figure in America. There's an interesting shuvah is because most people would not talk about such a topic. He says that there's a shuvah, a man wrote to him, I met a girl I want to marry, and she wants to get a degree. So she wants to take birth control for the next 10 years when first married, in order that she shouldn't concentrate on her career. What should I do? So he said, nothing wrong, let her, and it's mutter. Now, where did he get it from? Again, I'm saying it's halacha shloi l'maisa. You have to ask a local Orthodox rabbi, as we always say. What's his heter? He said like this, by a woman, the masculine says sugya, we pascha in the midst of pruvu does not apply to women. So therefore, you don't need to come on to that second answer, which the Gemara says, b'skeino nami ba'akor. Even by a young woman to take something, which the Gemara, that's the second to last answer, it's permitted for a woman to take medication. Now, the Rambam passed this medication, which will make her steva. The Rambam paskins that a woman's allowed to take this medication without any reason, just for no reason whatsoever. The Mechaber says, the Shulchan Aruch writes, that it is mutter min haTorah oseh midrabanan. So the Rishonim say, the Beforshim asked the Kasha, the Melech HaNodah say, what's going on? That Mechaber doesn't usually argue on the Rambam, right? It's one of the principles, the Mechaber always follows Rambam. So he says that the difference between the Mechaber and the Rambam is that the Rambam was talking about taking a potion. The Mechaber is talking about doing something to the organs. So therefore, you've got two stages. Taking medication, according to this, which most of the person hold of, is absolutely mutter lechatchila for a woman. Right? That's what we pass. Oh, I was just about to come to that. And to do something to the organs, that means, let's say, should have an operation which would do something to the organs that she can never have children, would be also only midrabanan, therefore b'shas sakana would be okay. Here he says that since we the birth control they were taking is not something with the organs, it's like a potion. So therefore it's mutter lechatchila. He says, what's your issue? That's if they will lift the man. No. He says, that's not true. Can't see what's going on. Somebody's wrote a text, sorry. Somebody wrote a question on the, I didn't group, I didn't happen. Anyway, again, he says there's no problem if they ever. Why? Because a man's got a mitzvah to have children. But he can't force, let's say he finds a woman who's not ready to get married for next month or two. He's mechuyev to marry her straight away and say to her, no, I'll marry somebody else if you don't agree to marry. So therefore he says that at the end of the day...
Even though they are married already.
Yeah, no. The question was, I said at the beginning, the question was, is he allowed to marry her?
So Zamanos.
So she said, I'm only getting married on condition that I can do this focus in my career. And he said that's permitted. I'm not saying, it's just interesting if you come out from the sugya, and that's what I wanted to say to you about this shaisa before. Now, Tosis asked the kasha, this whole sugya we've ignored Puruvu, we've only discussed suits. Answers Tosis that we already had children. It's mashma from Tosis that the only problem is over here, Puruvu, is a technical problem, Puruvu. A woman, for example, doesn't have mitzvah Puruvu, so this whole sugya would be okay, even if it's had Puruvu as well. So therefore, it's only on the man that we have a problem Puruvu. And the man can't do anything about it. This is what the woman wants. This is his psak. I'm not saying, I didn't mean, it's just interesting what comes out from the sugya. It comes out that for a woman, I mean, okay, it's for a woman to take a potion, is actually, from this sugya, it's mavur that it's okay. Right. Achoshes b'shinov. Somebody's got toothache. Lo yigma b'nes achimis, he shouldn't sip vinegar. Because people sipping vinegar, you can realize that he's doing it for his teeth. And metabalu kadakoi, person has to dip his bread in vinegar. That's a normal way to do it. Who dipped his bread in vinegar? Do you know? Who dipped the bread in vinegar? Levi, you know these things usually. Who dipped the bread in vinegar? Boyaz, he said to Rus, when you're a hot day, you should dip your bread in vinegar. It's about b'chomet. Anyway. Right, the top will be misrap or this rap. If it gets better through eating bread in vinegar, that's fine. Somebody who's got like a pain on his loins, it's not allowed to smear wine and vinegar. Hashem putting oil is okay, that was normal in the olden days. When we use soap, they used to use oil. But not rose oil, because that is unusual. Royalty, they're allowed to, because they do that weekdays. And every Yid is allowed to. Everybody is allowed to use rose oil. Says the Gemara, Avacha Avicha was Avacha Papa asked the following questions. Now, somebody's got toothache. Remember the Chayim's Mali the Shinaim. Does that mean that vinegar is good for teeth? Well, the pasuk there describes how frustrating it is to send a messenger to do a shlichus for you, and he does the wrong job. If you ever send somebody to ask you to do a favor, you send him on a message, and he keeps come back, buys the wrong thing at the wrong price. Oh, you just fired me from your job. That's the place. So you go to work and you ask him to do something, and he gets the wrong, and it's very frustrating. So the pasuk there says, what is he like? He's as frustrating as vinegar to the teeth, and smoke to the eyes. So we see that vinegar is a very horrible thing. So how can you say that vinegar makes the teeth better? One says, the sharp juice which comes out of fruit is bad. The vinegar, that's good. If there's a wound, masi makes it better. Meaning, if a person's got a wound in his mouth and he has a vinegar, the vinegar will make him better. But if he doesn't have a wound in his mouth and he drinks vinegar, so Rashi explains what happens is it dries up the gums and the teeth fall out. So vinegar is good and bad for teeth. If there's a wound, it's good. If there's no wound, it's bad. The Mishnah says you mustn't sip vinegar. Why? Because that's clearly for the sake of medicine health. You're not allowed to sip and spit out. You're allowed to sip and swallow. This is important halacha for whiskey. People who've got toothache, they say whiskey helps. So you can't gargle whiskey and spit it out. You have to gargle it and then you can swallow. So over here it's mashma, not like our Mishnah. Our Mishnah says you're not allowed to swallow altogether. Here it says, the Bryce says you're not allowed to gargle and spit out. Be allowed to gargle and swallow. So it's a mashma, you're allowed to sip and swallow. To still our Mishnah. So Abai makes a kimten our Mishnah. The our Mishnah is indeed talking about somebody who sips and then spits out. So it comes out halacha l'maisa, according to Abai, that you're allowed to have vinegar if you've got a toothache. You're just not allowed to have vinegar and then spit it out. That means, before a person eats, it's normal to sip a little bit of vinegar. It's to make an appetite. A person wants to start the meal, like a bit of chrein or a bit of mayonnaise. Some people start off the meal like that. To give an appetite. So before the meal, it's normal. At the end of the meal, when you finish eating, it is, you've already eaten, you've already had your share. The only reason you're having this vinegar is for medicine purposes, and therefore it's forbidden. The name of feeding more. If you're allowed to have it before, the more asks a kasha like this: since we permit him to dip it, to sip vinegar before the meal, he should be allowed to sip vinegar at the end of the meal. Because at the end of the day, a person who's sipping vinegar will look at him, and a person watching him won't say to himself he's doing it for medicine purposes, because you don't always watch people exactly what they're eating, when they're eating, how they're eating. And if you see somebody sipping vinegar, you'll think to yourself, you know why he's doing it, because he wants to have an appetite, he wants to start the meal. So why should it be forbidden? The Shamina le Rava, the Iste Hoil. Rava holds the principle of Hoil, meaning since. Since one's permitted, the other one's permitted. I'm going to explain this a little bit outside and inside. The halacha is that one should not go to mikveh on Shabbos. Does anybody know why it was forbidden to go to mikveh on Shabbos? Yeah, Makabah Patish is the right answer. Interesting, yes. Makabah Patish. Because you were Tomei and now you're Toy, it's Tikkun.
If you're not going for a Tomei, if you're going.
So you're always going to make it elevate your Kedusha. So the halacha is that it's permitted. Why is it permitted? Because when somebody sees you dipping in the mikveh, they'll think to themselves that you're not doing it because of Tikkun Mana. They'll think to themselves you're doing it to cooling yourself down. And therefore, they'll think you're going for a bath or something. They won't see it. Now, Yom Kippur, what would you say? Would a person be allowed to go to mikveh on Yom Kippur? So start the logic as follows. To make himself better, elevating is forbidden. Why is that forbidden? Because Tikkun Mana, like he said. You're misakin, you were Tomei, now he makes of Tomei. Now, what are you going to say? That the reason that people watching him will say he's not doing it to Tomei, he's doing it to do what? To wash himself off, to go down. But Yom Kippur, you're not allowed to wash yourself. So therefore, Yom Kippur should be forbidden to Tovel. Let me look at this. Min Din, there's no problem with Toveling. Mitzad the washing. Why is there no problem inside the washing? Because Yom Kippur, you're not allowed to wash yourself. But if you're dipping in the mikveh for the sake of Tara, you're not washing yourself, you're just trying to elevate your Kedusha. So therefore, mitzad the toveling, mitzad the cleaning would be okay. You're allowed to. The problem is that you're not allowed to tovel because that's Tikkun Mana. And what are you going to say? It should be permitted. Why should it be permitted? Because people watching you will say to themselves, I'm only doing it because he's cooling himself down. But you're not allowed to wash yourself in Yom Kippur to cool yourself down. So for Yom Kippur, it should be forbidden. Came along Rava and said, no. On Yom Kippur, you're allowed to go to mikveh. Why? Because we have a principle that Yom Kippur is more lenient than Shabbos. On Shabbos, the skila. Yom Kippur, there's no skila, for example. Doing malacha on Shabbos is skila, and Yom Kippur is only course. Therefore, if we permit it on Shabbos, we have to permit it on Yom Kippur. This is the principle of a deeper hoil. that since it's permitted in A, we cannot forbid it in B. There's got a chumrah regarding washing. It doesn't have a chumrah regarding issa malocha. And what's the issa of teveling on Yom Kippur? Malocha. Which malocha? Tikkun mona, back of a patish. So therefore, Rava says if we allow you to tevel on Shabbos, because people understand that you're not teveling for the sake, you're just washing yourself up. So when would you never be allowed to tevel? Does anybody know? When would you not be allowed to tevel? In very, very dirty water, you're not allowed to tevel. Why? Not Shabbos, Yom Kippur. Because people watching will say to themselves, why are you doing it? Not to clean yourself and wash yourself, cool yourself down, because it's dirty. So the only reason you're doing it is because you want to elevate yourself to become Kodesh. That was regarding before. The Gemara in Beitza says, you're not allowed to.
Can't do it for on Shabbos anyway.
Can't do it for. Oh. So the Gemara says like this. The Shamin on the Rava Dislehul, Doma Rava, Leki Midit with Shabbos Shavim Akipim also. There's no such thing that on Shabbos is permitted and Kippur is forbidden. Hold with Shabbos Shavim Akipim Namishoy. As well, Hoda be Rava Mehach. Rava was chayzer from his teretz in our Mishnah. That means Rava in our Mishnah said that you're allowed to sip vinegar because it's permitted one case, but in another case, Rava changed his mind and agreed to Abaya. That our Mishnahs talk about sipping and spitting out. Maybe Rava was chayzer from that other Gemara. Gemara says, "Lo sakadatach." The Tanya kol chayav etzvila yistem kedar kol imtish Rav Yom Kippurim. The halacha is a person is allowed to tevel Yom Kippur on Tisha B'av. Nowadays, we do not tevel Yom Kippur on Tisha B'av. The reason being, we do not have Tvila Bismano. We never sure that there's real Tvila Bismano because of the fact that we're chayshish for the Chum of Abisera, that every woman is a Zava, even she's a Nida, and things like that. And therefore, because of that, a woman does not tevel on Yom Kippur on Tisha B'av. The Minad Din, one is allowed to. Since we see one is allowed to, we see that Rava's principle of Hoyle stands firm. So therefore, in our Mishnah, Pshat in our Mishnah must be like Abaya. Our Mishnah is saying you're not allowed to suck and spit out, but to suck and to sip is permitted. Says the Gemara. The halacha is like Shimon that what? That everybody is allowed to use rose oil on Shabbos to anoint themselves, to if they've got loins pains, because even though only kings use it, all of Klal Yisrael are compared to royalty. Says the Gemara, remember, do Rav Shimon severely? Do you think that Rav holds like Shimon? Here the Gemara does a very interesting thing. We know that Shimon and Yehuda, Shimon is always maker. Malacha shein tzricha legufa, Shimon says it's not awesome in that Torah. Davar shein niskavat, Shimon says it's not awesome, Rav Yehuda says it's. So Shimon is always the maker in Shabbos. In our Mishnah, is also maker. In what way is he maker? He says that everybody is allowed to use rose oil. Since Rav passes like Shimon, it seems to be a logical conclusion, and Rav would hold like Shimon in all cases when Shimon's maker. And Teza asks the kasha, make a tesa. That just because he's making in one place, does he have to make it everywhere else? But that's the more complicated malach. But that's the Rashi's malach. That since Rav is maker like Shimon, he must always be maker. The barrel stopper, they used to have a barrel which would have a tap. And the way to make sure that the water wouldn't leak out the tap, you would take a cloth and stuff it into the hole. So this blocking of the barrel, top of Kufdala from the base, you're not allowed to squeeze it in on Yom Tov. Why? Because you're going to squeeze out the liquid. Or it's Dovashin Vischaven. Teretz says that you must hold like a Yehuda. Dovashin Vischaven is also. And it says more, but here I feel of Shimon Moed, the Bible, don't want to buy, but Shimon Sekresh for Yomos. No, you got no raya that Rav holds like a Yehuda. Maybe Rav holds like a Shimon. The reason he forbids it to put in a cloth, a rag, to block up a barrel is only because of the fact that it's a psikration. He says clearly that Allah is like a Yehuda. Without quoting it from other people, but directly. So in the Maisa we see that Rav holds like Rabbi Yehuda, not like Rabbi Shimon. So why did Rav in our Mishnah why did Rav over here hold like Rabbi Shimon of our Mishnah? And the lion in the group. Targimno will explain this answer. Who's this lion? Rav doesn't really hold Rabbi Shimon. Rav does not agree with Rabbi Shimon, but because of a different piece of logic, he came to the same conclusion as Rabbi Shimon. Why? Let me take this. You could say, our mission is discussing using rose oil for a person who's got a pain on his loins. Rav Shimon says it's mutter. Maybe Rav permitted it like Rav Shimon, not because of Rav Shimon, because he holds like Rav Shimon, because Rav doesn't hold Rav Shimon, holds like Rav Yehuda, but simply because Rav held it's not medication. These things don't heal. Since they don't heal, therefore there's no halachic problem with it. Says the Gemara, it doesn't heal. Since the Tanakam of our Mishnah says that princes, royalty, do use this oil, is a proof that people did use this oil, and this oil does heal. Therefore, you cannot say that this oil doesn't heal. Of course it does. And Allah Rav Shimon does show you Rav Shimon Rav Shimon held that the reason why it's permitted is because everybody in Klal Yisrael is entitled to say, I am like royalty. And since kings use rose oil, I'm also entitled to. Rav did not agree to that color. And Rav held that indeed something which only royalty use is forbidden. As we said, Rav doesn't hold Rav Shimon, Rav holds like Rav Yehuda. The Rav agreed with Rav Shimon for a different reason. Why? Because in Rav's town, rose oil was not expensive, and therefore everybody used it. Since everybody used it, so therefore it wasn't something considered to be unusual, and therefore there's nothing wrong. In the town of Rav, rose oil was common, and therefore it was not a question of royalty, etc. And therefore it was forbidden. It was permitted. So again, our Mishnah says Machlokes Tanoim if you're allowed to use rose oil or not. Shimon says yes. Tanakama says not. Rav was passing like a Shimon, and the Gemara Maskon says the only reason passing like Shimon, not because he's maker that everybody can treat themselves as royalty. The reason he's maker is simply because of the fact that it is so common that not only royal people use it, everybody uses it. We're zeicher to finish another perek in Shabbos on the Rosh Chodesh, which we're zeicher to finish many more, both in this world and in the next world. Right, should we do Mazel do L'chaim very quickly? Maybe I think we should do L'chaim very quickly. Everybody should. Shiur, have you got a L'chaim in your house? If you want to come around quickly and get a L'chaim, Levi, who are you? Yehuda. I can't nowadays. So one day technology will provide a system to send on Zoom a L'chaim, but
drone.
Some cake on the window.
Oh yeah. Oh, wow.
Listen, 30 years ago they said that about text messages.
And they never did.
Soon we'll be all back in shul.
No, what do you mean? Now you can send text messages instantly. 30 years ago, that's what they were talking about. So you never know.
No, it's a tenth of a cup of that.
What? That's
Mamish, just l'shem it's. That's enough stuff. Thank you very much.
L'chaim.
L'chaim, Shiur, L'chaim, Yehuda, L'chaim, Levi, L'chaim, Harvey, L'chaim. L'chaim. Oh wow. Let me just make a bracha louder, sir.
I could come back, get in trouble for abandoning my kids.
Oh,
I'm on
you're a good
duty
father.
tonight. Yeah.
L'chaim.
What's that back?
Chaim.
L'chaim, simchas. Amen. L'chaim, simchas.
I had a feeling they'd open shuls again on Twitter.
Oh yeah?
What was the connection?
It's the last time I went to shul with Parashas Korah. It
wow.
was the foodcast. We see the
Now you
whole,
tell us.
the whole process was the process of Tahara. We read
Oh.
Why are you telling us now?
read that both
Nice.
You told us at the beginning and we would have been so impatient.
Oh.
No,
Maybe the
Nice.
economy won't have crashed it.
To hear, we last thing we heard was Paul, and now we're going to be back in time for
Very
Chukas.
nice.
Very nice. That's what it's the tower process.
You'll see Lane at that minute about EFM, I think.
That's very nice.
Oh,
Thank you.
that's
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
yeah.
In Pinterest.
That's your own table. Very good.
Yeah, I've been practicing it for like 2 months.
You were hoping they were
I was
there.
convinced that
It's a shame he didn't tell Boris
they
Johnson.
kept on sort of planning it around that time.
Just say very quickly, so this week's parsha, Korach fell into a pit. The Yerushalmi says that when Chana, who was descended from Korach, said the words Moirid Sheol Vayoal, that Hashem makes people fall into Gehenna and takes them out, Korach stopped falling. Chaim Kanievsky said that when we went to yeshiva, Chaim Kanievsky learned in yeshiva in Petach Tikva, Nomzho. His mashkiach used to say, you have to picture what that means. For a few hundred years, Koyach fell deeper and deeper into Gehenna. Like if you picture how fast does a person fall from, if you fall from 10,000 meters, how long does it take to hit the ground? 1 minute? Probably not even.
Yeah. 10,000 meters.
Yeah, I don't know.
It took me about.
As they say,
I
that,
jumped out of plane.
Did you?
You won't be here otherwise.
You free fall for about.
How many meters?
About,
you jumped out
Yeah,
of a
no.
plane when?
That's
Yeah,
with a
yeah,
parachute.
about
That's different.
3 years.
Slowing you down.
no, but the first however many times.
All right.
Free fall.
Why? What do you do? What's a bungee jumping? What is it?
I'll never
jumped
do
out of
it.
plane.
Wow.
Skydive.
Seriously,
The
you did it?
stalker.
You did it?
Pound for every meter.
I don't think any of the free fall. The maximum you can do.
Think about it. Now you've got a good
I would
picture.
Scared of heights. I won't go
Did you hear? Somebody managed to do, what's the word? What's it called? Skydiving. So you have to picture Korach without the parachute fell. And yes, he said they gave him a tremendous shudder, but he used to think how deep Gehenna is, that you can fall and fall for hundreds of years. It's quite frightening. Okay. Next parak. Ve'elu kshorim. Oh, wow. You put... I'm curious now what it costed.
Well, you want to have a go?
Maybe for my birthday, what?
You're scared of heights, did you say?
Got another
Scared of
4 days till
heights?
the next one.
You heard it. Did you hear
Scared
that?
of
Scared
no
of heights.
heights.
Yeah,
But you could do that.
Tuesday.
Maybe for Shabbos here we'll have an outcome.
Sunday.
Sunday we're doing another one.
Well, Sunday, yeah. I think we're over.
Right.
4 days.
Let's get
What's
going.
this about? Shorim.
Ve'elu kshorim, these are knots shechayovna aleim that yechayev. Kesha gemalim, the knots which you use for camels. Kesha saponim, the knots which you use for boats. Ukshem shuchav al kishon, just like yechayev for making a knot, kach uchav al eteo and yechayev undoing. The knot you can undo with one hand. In chayovna olav, a person is not chayev. So say for Yada Melech, and I don't know why he asks it over here because I have this kash on so many mishnayos. And he asks a fundamental question. I don't have a good answer. I have to say, if I was to write the mishnayos, what would I do? I would start off with principles of equations. That means kesher shel kayoma, kesher she'ino shel kayoma, a double knot. The Mishnah doesn't do that. He never does that. What does he do? He tells us this kind of knot's permitted. That kind we're going to have next Mishnah, other knots. And then we have to work through very hard to work out which knot did he mean when he said that and the other, which is quite complicated. So the other man asks the question, why did Rabbi Yehuda Nossi do that? Do you mind passing the bottle? Yeah, it's very warm. I just say one fundamental machlekes rishonim over here. One very big machlekes. Rashi says like this. They look sure if you got a chance to read that first Rashi up here, because this Rashi really. Hamanuim ba'ovis malachos, which is going back to the ovis malachos. Tanya kesher mati kesher shel kayom shini matir lo'ilom. Dumya de kesher chuti v'yis nevsakos. That means a knot which lasts forever. One is chayev min hateret. Did you hear such thing from Rashi? If you make a double knot and the knot lasts forever, you've done the issa deraisa. The Rambam disagrees. The Rambam says you're only chayev if two things. It has to be a knot forever, and it has to be a professional knot. That means the kind of knot which you just take a piece of string and you make a double knot, that's not a professional knot. The Rambam holds it's okay. So there's a famous, Shabbos already mentions this. So he told me today, Yaakov Vezhner mentioned it in his one of the Shabbos Akodah Drashas, that many people, they take out the bin, and what they do, they make a knot, and they throw it out. Right? You take the bin, you make a knot, throw it out. The problem is that knot will last forever and ever and ever, because you never undo it. So according to Rashi, that would be an Issa Deraisa. According to the Rambam, it won't be because it's not a Kesher Shel Uman. That's a very important Yesod Machlekas. According to Rambam, you need to have two things: Kesher Shel Kayom and Kesher Uman. According to Rashi, not. Okay. Now it's important to notice that when we say Kesher Shel Kayom, we mean a Kesher which you intend forever. If I make a very, very good knot which could last forever, but I intend to undo it in 5 minutes, that's not considered the Kesher Shel Kayom. Right? If you make a very, very good knot, but you're planning to undo it in a few minutes, that's not a kesher shel kayom. Kesher shel kayom has to be one that you intended to last forever. So it's also like this. My kesher agmalim kesher sapanim. What is the knot of camels and knot of boats? And you need a tiny bit of introduction, but it's very straightforward. It's like this. It's like what you do when you want to have a boat. I've seen it in boats. I've never seen it in camels. What you do is you make a knot in the bow of the ship and in the nose of the camel. So you take a string and you make a knot. You take a piece of rope, put it through the nose of the camel, and make a proper knot. or on a boat of a boat, you take a rope, you make a knot. That knot lasts forever and ever. You never take it off. Then you take a rope which you tie to that knot, and then whenever you go to shore, you take the other end of the knot of the rope and you tie it around the stick or the camel. When you want to keep the camel in a certain place, you tie the rope around a tree. But you're not, and then when you want to let the camel go, you undo the knot around the tree, or if you want the boat to go, you undo the knot around the place where the boat is docked. You're not going to undo the knot around the camel's nose and the knot around the bow of the boat every time. You don't. If you ever see big ships, they have ropes on them all the time because those ropes stay all the time. When you get to dock, then you tie it to the post which you want to moor it by. So now when the Mishnah says the knot of the camels and the knot of the ships, which knot are we talking about? The one which is by the nose and the bow? Or are we talking about the knot which is by the post? Which one would you say? It says the knot which you tie from the nose, the or the knot which is tied to the post. Those knots don't last. Because when you tie a camel to a place, you might leave them there for a few hours, even for a few days, not forever. A boat, you don't leave it to moor in its place. And the knot of the nose ring itself, the knot of the nose and the knot of the ship, not the knot which you then tie to a post. That's very important because we're going to come back to it. So again, you have a knot which is around the nose of the camel, and you have a knot around the bow of the ship. That lasts forever, and that is takeh chayv natur. And then you've got a knot which you tie it to a post. That is only d'Rabbanan. Amir says any knot you should undo with one hand. A bow according to Amir, what's the dip? The svar of Amir is that you can undo with one hand, and a bow you can also undo with one hand. A bow is on one hand like a very good knot because it's very, very tight. You can make a very tight bow. On the other hand, it's got a weakness that you can undo with one hand. When Rameh said you can undo with one hand, did he mean because it's very weak? A knot which you can undo with one hand is very weak, and therefore a bow which is very strong does not have that heter, and therefore a bow would be forbidden min heter? Or did he mean because it's easily undone, and then a bow can also be undone? The Gemara leaves it as a shaila. New Mishnah. There are other kinds of knots which are not chayv min haTorah like the ones we mentioned previously, but rather they're only asim min haTorah. It's a strange nusach of a Mishnah. There are other knots which are not like the knots we mentioned previously, which are chayv. They're only asim. That means they're not like they're not the same as those which we mentioned earlier, the camel knots and the boat knots. A woman is allowed to tie a cloak, kind of hat, the kind of girdle. A woman is allowed to put on the clothes and make a knot. She's allowed to tie up her shoes. The sandal or a sandal. In those days they used to have jugs. No, the first place, because men don't have these kinds of clothes. It's not, men don't have these girdles and these hats, etc. But you're right, the shoelace is referring to both, you're right. Notice in the shemen, jugs of wine and oil, they used to have like leather jugs, and then the top would have a flap which would be tied down. That's permitted. The kedera shel basa, if you've got a pot made out of leather, you can then tie down the flaps. If you want to make sure a horse doesn't escape, what do? You take ropes. Have you ever seen these gates? Because it's going to come back to it, where there's 3 bars across, right? 5 bars across. Long gate. So in the older days, they didn't have those expensive gates. They would just tie a few strings across. So then it's permitted to tie these things that the animals shouldn't escape. I'm going to jump just to give you a bit of a soil to get an understanding. When an animal, you don't want it to stay there forever, right? You want it to come in and out. So of course you should be allowed to tie a rope to stop the animal from going, because it's only a temporary knot. What's the chiddush? The answer is, if you picture these gates, if you want the animal to go, what you could do if you're lazy is instead of opening all three or all two knots, you just open one and get the horse to jump over one rope or to go underneath the other rope. So therefore, one of the ropes, in theory, could actually stay there permanently. But the Chiddush of the Mishnah is no, that since in the end of the day, none of them are meant to be permanent. So we're describing a person who's got knots across. This Chiddush is going to come up in many different ways, where you've got a knot, which is not permanent at all. But theoretically, it could be permanent, and the Chiddush is that that's mutter. Says the Gemara. The Gemara in the beginning is a bit shver, because the Mishnah starts off saying the other knots which are awesome, because they're not chayav, but they're forbidden. And then he carries on the list of things which are actually mutter. So the Gemara asks the Kasha, how can you reconcile the beginning of the Mishnah to the end of the Mishnah? The Mishnah is like this. How go for Kasha? Almost you start off by saying, you start off by saying they're not as bad as camels and boats, which knots last forever and ever. That means you're not chayav, but it's obviously awesome. And then you carry on. And then you count the list of things which is mutter. That doesn't work. There are three levels whenever we come to knots. We're going to have this many times. Any malach really. There's that which is awesome in Ateh, which is chayav. There's that which is completely mutter, and that which is halfway, which is not awesome in Ateh, but it's awesome in Durabbanon. Our Mishnah starts off as if it's about to list the Durabbanons, because the Mishnah starts off saying that there are some knots which are not quite like these knots of the camels and the boats that last forever, meaning that it's not awesome in Ateh, but we Durabbanon. And then the Mishnah tells us a list of knots which are actually permitted to do. So the Gemara says, this is how you have to read the Mishnah. What are those? Top of Kufit base of the Aleph, Kitta de Kotibus Mama, the Kitta de Kotibus Tadidja. That's the knots which you tie when you've got the nose ring, the rope off the nose ring, you tie around the post. Or the knot which comes off the boat, you tie it around the post. That's awesome. Why is that awesome? Because at the end of the day, sometimes you leave it. You look at the top of Rashi, the base sources they medayek these Rashis. The top of Rashi writes at the end of the line, you leave it for a week or two. So that is not a knot which is undone all the time. So that's awesome midrabanan. But the other, again, you've got three levels: a knot which is forever, a knot which is for a week or two, which is awesome midrabanan, and then a knot which is more temporary. So the Mishnah starts off saying there are some knots which are not derisive because they're only temporary, like the knot which you put around the post. How long will you leave a camel in its place? A week or two, not forever. How long will you leave a boat in its place? A week or two, not forever. She's allowed to open her cloak. That is mutter, because that is something which happens all the time. Since it happens all the time, therefore it's mutter. So God says, she's allowed to open the cloak, pshita. Of course it's mutter. A woman wouldn't be allowed to get dressed on Shabbos. It's a top that has two openings. You might have thought that one of them, she leaves and she never opens. Kamash Malon. Sometimes you have children, but they have these tops where you have to pull them off. It's very difficult. So you have to open the buttons first. So sometimes you don't bother opening up all the buttons and you just pull it off because you open a few, you can get it off. This is the kind of top that a woman can have, where there's two ways, two knots on each side. To take the top off easily, what you do is you open this side, the ropes on that side, the strings on that side, you open the strings on that side, and then you can pull off the top. Here, there is a possibility for the woman not to bother opening both. If she opens just one side, she can still take off the top. So you might have thought that if she makes a knot on one side, she may never come to undo it. Kamash Malon, that since the end of the day, the normal way of getting dressed and undressed is by opening both. It is permitted. Similarly, she's allowed to undo a hat. Shita, Mo says it's obvious because at the end of the day, she needs to take a hat off. The hat is loose. She might just pull the hat off rather than undo the knots. A woman doesn't like to pull off a hat because if she pulls off a hat, some hairs will come loose and she loses some hair. Women don't like to lose their hair. So therefore, she won't pull it off and she'll undo the knot before she takes it off. The Meiri and others, Rashi also asks the Kasha and others, that the Gemara should have asked the Kasha what's going on about the third case. The Gemara never asked the Kasha about the Shopiski of the girdle. that why does one not talk about what's the chiddush of the girdle? Rashi explains that the girdle, what happens is women would sometimes, if they were very lazy, a girdle was a little bit like a gartel, right? Now, how do you take off a gartel? All of you wear gartel? No, not Hasidic here. Well, the nice, if you've got a belt or trousers, you do it. Anyway, but what do? You undo it. But if you're very lazy, you just pull it down. So you might have thought that woman won't bother to take it off. Kamash Malon, that it's okay. Okay, we'll do the next one. I've got time. The next one. V'tzuis manel v'sandal. This is slightly more complicated. Let's try and get it through like this. Itva hitiv v'tzuis middle v'sandal. A person undoes his shoelace, undoes the straps of his shoe, not the shoelace, the straps of his shoe. I have to explain briefly. I had chesed to if you get a hold of such a shoe, I'd be very interested if somebody can find such a shoe. But basically, what they used to do is they used to have a flat piece of leather and a strap that went across. For chalitza. So what happens is like this. If it gets a hole and snaps on the inside of the sole, the inside, people don't care that much. Why? Because people can't see. If you think about it, the outside of your shoes, people notice. The inside of your shoes, if there's a stain on, people won't notice, right? Now, when the strap gets undone, you have to then tie it back down. So the Mishnah goes like this. We have if you undo it, the sandal. Toni choda, one verse says chayav chatos. Chayav chatos is the rice. V'tanei doch potav lo says any midrabanon. V'tanei doch muter lechatchila. You're even allowed to do lechatchila. We have three brises. One brise says that undoing a strap is deraisa. One brise says it's derabanon. One brise says it's mutter. And both brises talk about shoes and sandals. So we actually have a triple way stira regarding shoes and regarding sandals. So what's like this? That's referring to the shoemaker. The shoemaker, when he puts the strap onto the sole, he does it with a permanent, because the whole purpose of the shoe, if it would miss that strap, what would happen? You wouldn't be able to walk around with it. If you picture a shoe, that the top of the shoe has to be tied to the bottom of the shoe forever. So that's chayav. Potav also b'durabanon is referring to Talmidei Chachamim. So here there's a few malachim. Why do Talmidei Chachamim do a temporary? Some say, interestingly, it says, is Talmidei Chachamim don't bother getting undressed at night because they're busy learning. So therefore, they only get undressed once a week for Shabbos. So therefore, their shoes, when they tie their shoelace, it is also b'durabanon because they're going to last for quite a long time. But I think most people, they get undressed every night and therefore they undo the shoes every day. That's nice. Rashi says it's much more complicated. Rashi says that people who work, they need to do the shoes tight because they get from place to place. The Chum sit all day. Since they sit all day, they don't need to tie the shoelace so tight. Why? Because they're just sitting down anyway. So therefore, when they take the shoes on and off, they don't need to undo the straps. Okay, it's also complicated. I thought. Right. That's. Okay, I don't get it off, but I can't. Okay. So again, they do the shoes once a week, everybody else once a day. That's normal people. So a normal person, the straps of his shoe is mutter. A Talmid Chacham, for whatever reason, either because it doesn't work, so therefore he doesn't have to do it so tight, so he doesn't loose, and therefore he never undoes it once a week, it's awesome. The shoemaker's the ricer. Sandal kasha. How did he have chatas with the tire? The kotri ushmachi. We're talking about Arabs who travel, where the shoemakers tie it to them, and they make sure that they tie it properly, that they never come off. The sandals which an Arab traveler has. The knots that most people make themselves, they're not so good, and therefore it's only asked for Rabbanan because it doesn't last that long. A shoe which two people share is mutar lechatchila because every day they're going to swap. He had this pair of shoes. He had sandals. Sometimes he used them, sometimes his son used them. What's the he says, had you told me that's also midrabanan, I would have argued, I'd have had a difficult. So he said, my time, why did you think that it should be okay? They shared the same shoes, but their feet were completely different sizes. So every day they would have to adjust the straps and undo them and retie them. So therefore, in such a situation, since it's only a temporary knot, it's mutar lechatchila, and therefore you have no question about it whatsoever. It will stop here. It is a new sugya actually. And tomorrow's daf requires a bit of thinking. Okay, so we're up to Rabbi Yomi. It's a small story. Kufi based at the middle of the page. We answered the three issues. So basically, a long-term knot is chayav, a temporary, very temporary is mutter. One which is not temporary, it's not long-term, for like say a week or two, it's also mitzvah. I'll press end in order to think. Very good.